Hello, my name is Steve Nathans Kelly. I'm the editor-in-chief of Streaming Media Magazine, and I'm here today with Tassilo Raesig, CEO of broadcast grade streaming platform provider MainStreaming. Welcome, Tassilo.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steve. Looking forward to a nice discussion.
Yeah. Well, today we're gonna touch on a number of issues critical to streaming content delivery and how mainstream helps to address them. So let's get right into it. Um, So I think it's good to start off just talking about hybrid edge networks. Broadcasters and OTT providers are continually seeking high-performance streaming solutions that balance quality with cost efficiency. What network implementations or solutions is mainstreaming deploying to meet these demands? And what are the key benefits you've identified with your customers for adopting this approach?
Well, and in the first place, we're offering a variety of solutions that, start with private CDN implementations for, especially broadcasters that, require high quality of experience with a lot of spikes in their traffic profile. Usually live sports is a very good example for that. Where we deploy guaranteed capacity and infrastructure for a service itself. But we also run our global CDN services, which is like an infrastructure that you can use on demand. Obviously, on top of already guaranteed capacity requirements, but as well if you're a streaming service that just has normal VOD traffic profiles that needs to be delivered at high quality and low cost profiles. This is where we specialized in. Having set up an infrastructure that goes very deep, towards the edge, so very close to the consumer, with a sophisticated orchestration platform that delivers the content in a very cost efficient and low latency and high quality way. That's the core of our network that obviously goes in line with very sophisticated caching solutions that have to go with that, and in strong relationships and partnerships with service providers that basically value our way of not congesting their network with a very good way of delivering the content throughout even complex infrastructures.
Okay, great. That makes sense. I mean, it's certainly what we've heard over the last several years is that really effective content delivery has more and more moved to the edge. And the traditional CDN approach seems to have fallen by the wayside, to a great degree. Um, with increasing demands on video quality and delivery speed, how does mainstreaming's approach to deploying edge solutions within ISP networks create a more resilient infrastructure? And what challenges do you see in scaling this hybrid approach globally?
I mean, on one side, obviously, having a limited capacity in terms of, peering between, services and ISPs in any given country, some of them better, some of them not so good. It's very important that we basically deploy solutions within ISP networks, the closer to the edge as possible, as said before, that, obviously speeds up our way to deliver content, to cache content close to the end user, but also, mitigate the traffic limitations that ISP networks have. Therefore, also not having to increase their investment in infrastructure to deliver video. I mean, classically, obviously, the networks have not been designed for live video, especially or for at scale video delivery, at a certain point in time, but more as a commoditized, web-based content delivery network. And this is where we enable the ISP to, save cost on infrastructure investments, but at the same time also being able to offer high capacity and bandwidth to broadcasters and OTT services running through their network, and finally participating also through revenue sharing on the traffic they get. which has not been the case in the past. In that sense, that's what's building up our partnerships with the ISPs, as a win-win situation, having smoother delivery of the traffic, going around the barriers of peering capacity and enabling business models for them where there haven't been any before.
And speaking more of ISPs, with traditional CDNs facing limitations in delivering high quality and scalable video streaming, how does MainStreaming's solution help ISPs to optimize video delivery while at the same time reducing network strain?
Well, that's what I said. We have a very intelligent caching solution, Smart Origin, that helps to, acquire the content that needs to be delivered in an ISP's network, only once, and not having, to go through the whole network all the time, and then, distributing that to our edge caching solution. Is also, delivering the content only where it needs to be and not congesting throughout the whole network. In the combination between our orchestration and the caching inside the ISP, we basically help to mitigate the congestion issues and at the same time delivering at a high quality because we can direct the content where actually we see is the best way to deliver to the end user within the network, also including solutions that we do with key players in terms of CMCD pluses, we call it. So taking information back from the player directly to optimize the routing of content delivery within the ISP network.
Okay, and when it comes to monetization, monetizing video delivery is a growing opportunity for ISPs. How does MainStreaming's CDN as a service model enable ISPs to generate new revenue streams while also ensuring broadcast grade QoE and QoS?
In terms of the classic business model, a lot of the traffic was managed through, transition and other ways, of traffic delivery where the ISP did not really benefit from, the video delivery traffic itself, other than maybe, some peering elements that, he could set up, with the classic exchanges. In our model, he can sell the capacity in his network directly to OTT services, broadcasters, or any video delivery, companies. We are enabling basically that, the orchestration between the ISP networks and other ISPs is happening. So we're also bringing our customers as a revenue driver to these ISPs, enabling their network, and at the same time, having them as a distribution partner of MainStreaming, being in a position that they can sell the service of their own ISP capacity, but as well for the rest of the country, where we serve as a delivery platform. So on one side, monetizing his own network, but as well, approaching big customers that, want to have coverage of the whole country, including, the own network. In Germany, Deutsche Telekom is an example of that. That is our distribution partner. And we basically approach, all the relevant players with a lot of creative solutions in terms of bandwidth usage, capacity models, and other enabled business structures together.
One issue that I think we'd all like to think we could eradicate in the industry, but it never seems to go away, is piracy, right? And piracy, continues to pose significant risks to content owners and broadcasters alike. So how does MainStreaming address these challenges, and what approaches are you introducing to strengthen content protection for your customers?
Yeah. Content protection, and I spent a long time, within Sony, and one of our biggest concerns at Sony Pictures was obviously content security and so forth. And it proved to be an ever ongoing whack-a-mole if you just rely on DRM solutions. or if you just rely on like forensic solutions as watermarking and embedding maybe customer information into the content itself. Helps you on one side, yeah, to do a DRM solution, but as said, as you develop a new one, there's a lot of people who try to produce solutions to go around it. And for the forensic ones is nice, but it doesn't help you to really protect, the content while you provide it. And as we all know, to have a football game like 2 days later is like, oh, we know, that it went somewhere else. It's not interesting to anyone anymore and doesn't help your revenue streams. So what we are doing is really having a real-time anti-piracy solution that uses our capabilities in terms of the CDN management to identify piracy attempts in terms of VPN usage, so the license usage outside of the licensed country, but also CDN leeching, where basically single clients use the content and redistribute it through other means, circumventing the origin player and security measures that are in place, or many other ways. But we can detect it while it happens, and this is where we provide our partners and customers a toolbox where they can select what to do with that identified issues. So we basically block the according IPs, should be shut down the VPN tunnels that go into the network, or even just degrade the quality to a level where it's not interesting anymore to use that content by the end user, even if it's available, but it's a pixelated football game is just not really worth watching, as an example. But we leave it to obviously the customer to decide what to do with basically the detected piracy attempts. And this is proven to be something that helps to bring people back into subscriptions and reducing the use of piracy services quite significantly.
Yeah, well, that certainly makes sense. I mean, I imagine all your customers would heartily agree with you that finding out 2 days later that the game has been pirated really doesn't do them any good. Uh, but yeah, so we're talking about real-time piracy detection. Obviously, um, getting lots of information in real time is really important for live streams. And one obvious area for that is real-time insights and analytics about the viewer experience. So how does MainStreaming utilize common media client data, CMCD, and advanced analytics to optimize streaming performance and enhance quality of experience? And why is this level of data-driven insight so crucial in today's media landscape?
I mean, CMCD is a well, defined and established standard, honestly, for analytical purposes and delivering, a rich and very good set of data about the performance, of the player, in the end customer's environment. That usually also helps to do analytics and like, how did we perform in the last broadcast, or in the overall performance in this week or this month. We have taken this to basically the next step and saying we can use this data in real time to identify delivery problems on the go, and then take according action to improve that. So if via the CMCD data, we detected, a certain area, for example, of end users having increasing problems, we already use that information to inform our orchestration to reroute the traffic, maybe go to even more distant, edge cluster, because, in that area, an ISP might have a different technical problem. And therefore improve basically all the key KPIs and metrics that are relevant for the quality of experience. Again, in real time, informed not just by our infrastructure, but including the player information of our customers. and taking this into account to have an even more optimized and better performance of the content delivery.
And looking a little bit into the future, what do you see as the major challenges that will be facing OTT streamers and broadcasters over the next few years?
Well, overall, I think it's the total available capacity that we are having, across the different markets. I mean, if we look in the developments of the last 1 or 2 years, we see a huge increase in broadcast capacity moving into IP. So the more we see that traditional, broadcast bandwidth is, decreasing. So satellite transponders are being shut down, terrestrial broadcast being stopped in some of the European countries with a time plan attached to it. Meaning that the acceleration of moving basically video also from a broadcast environment into IP is presenting a set of challenges that need to be managed. Number one is total capacity, which is not really there today. So if you would move all of that into IP, there's not enough capacity in any given country network. Number two, the resilience and security requirements that we know from a broadcast world, especially for public broadcasters, where you need to have backup systems, emergency situations being covered where transmission is crucial, is not present in the current IP landscape. It is if you go for classic broadcast, but not necessarily in an IP world yet. And that's all infrastructure and elements that need to be built up in the next years, while at the same time having an increased demand. So it's a little bit of rebuilding the plane while flying it at a higher speed. I think that's one of the big challenges that are coming into the total industry. And on the other side, I think the arrival of additional streaming services from the gaming perspective or virtual reality are just adding to that capacity requirement. So smart and efficient distribution of content is becoming key over the next coming years, as capacity is not increasing at the same speed as the demand.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And just thinking about these capacity and infrastructure challenges, I don't know how much you can reveal here today, but are there new technologies or innovations coming from mainstreaming in 2025 and beyond that you can talk about?
Well, obviously, we are trying, on an ongoing basis, to improve basically, the way we use and distribute content, also in collaboration, obviously, with the rest of the video delivery chain, if that's the encoding part, but as well on the player side. I mean, that whole ecosystem needs to evolve together. It doesn't help if mainstreaming alone is coming up with a great solution, because from a compatibility standpoint, it needs to work with standards that have also to involve at the same time. But I think we're trying to do the best to do an optimization and creating also a solution that runs on infrastructure that's already existing, so that we can build on ISPs, infrastructure, new services, instead of just adding additional infrastructure elements to the existing networks. Is a key element we're working on.
Okay, and really the last question. How does mainstreaming plan to position itself in the evolving content delivery landscape over the next few years?
Yeah, I think our main mission is delivering live at scale. That's a very important thing, and as we see that the also move of the sports license world into pure IP based providers like our customer DAZN, or Sky or the likes, is accelerating. I think this is becoming a very important place in the whole value chain and ecosystem. that we're obviously trying to fill. And in collaboration with a lot of the other parts, as you explained before, help to make that transition work in the time that broadcast plays, especially in the sports world, a smaller and smaller role.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like so many of these issues around live streaming at scale are really coalescing around sports, particularly because so much money is flowing into that and so much, the licensing, the rights are astronomical. It seems to be almost the center of the universe right now for streaming.
Yeah, I mean, if you spend a couple of billion on a license, you want to make damn sure that you can deliver the content for paying subscribers, at the best quality possible. But at the same time, obviously, any in the business, having demands in cost reduction and efficiency, they need to be met as well. And I think, the combination in the middle is a challenging spot, but we have chosen to take it.
Great. Well, thanks so much for your time, Tassilo. This has been great.
Thank you, Steve. It was a very pleasure to have the discussion with you.